we don't want to fall back on obedience or think that obedience is the thing that we need to be doing constantly to get our dogs where we want them to go. If we have a emotionally regulated dog, impulse control, no separation anxiety, can recover, because we're not saying that our dogs can't have emotion. I just said this yesterday too. We're not saying that the things that you're scared of shouldn't be scary anymore. We're not asking them to lose all these negative emotions because they're normal, just like a kid. Anger, sadness, frustration, all normal, right? But can you manage it, and can you recover quickly and go back to normal? Recovery is number one. If our dogs can't recover quickly and go back to baseline, we have an anxiety issue. Hello, and welcome to Paws Pacifiers, the podcast where we navigate the joyful, sometimes challenging journey of raising dogs and babies together. I'm your host, Jamie Caponetta, canine behavior consultant, mom, and your guide to fostering a blissful bond between your dog and your little one. Each episode will dive into practical tips, share expert advice, and feature stories from other parents just like you, all designed to help you create a harmonious home where everyone, including your dog, can thrive. Whether you're pregnant and preparing your dog for the arrival of a new baby, or you're juggling a toddler and a terrier, this is your spot for support and solutions. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and we'll make life with dogs and babies as smooth and as sweet as possible. Hello, and welcome back to the Paws and Pacifiers podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Caponetta. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I am actually recording in my own office, which normally, if you have been a listener for a while, we're usually in John's office, and he's usually the one that is co-hosting with me. But I'm going to try and go a little solo moving forward. There'll still be some guest appearances from John and his dad intake on a lot of this, but I wanted to do some solo stuff. So welcome. And thank you for joining me in my own personal office. I rebranded everything. I painted. If you saw it on Instagram, I think it looks pretty cool. And I'm really excited. So today we are talking about the training you should do with your dog before baby arrives. Okay. You're prepping the nursery, but what are you doing to prep your dog? Okay. That is like one of the biggest things that we can do to keep our baby safe, is preparing our dog from day one. And safety aside, which is always number one, safety for baby is always number one. But what are you doing for your dog, for their anxiety, for their preparedness? But all of that goes into how you will feel as a new mother. Because if your dog is not ready to go, you will feel that stress, whether it's anxiety, separation anxiety, stolen contraband, like tearing things up, peeing in the house. All of these behavioral issues are due to a dog that is feeling immense stress over a big change, which is completely normal. Now, if we were comparing this to a toddler, right? I can say this because I have 3 boys. JJ was how old when Joey came home? They are 26 months apart. Yeah, so he was like little over 2. So he was 2 and 2 months. He had to really transition into having a little brother, and having a little brother when you're little is super hard, right? And this is very similar for dogs. So maybe JJ wasn't experiencing the same type of anxiety that maybe a dog would experience, but it is quite similar. Okay. Like regression on potty training, becoming really whiny, acting like a baby again. These are all things that we will see from toddlers when a new sibling kind of comes into the mix. Feeling a lot of anger or jealousy, all normal emotions for a child to be experiencing when they are no longer the number one thing in their parent's life. And there's another being that is taking those resources, totally normal. But a lot of times when we talk about dogs, we don't look at it as that. We don't see it as the dog is now, has this sibling and its resources are being stolen. And we want to make this experience as beautiful as possible. Less anxiety, less stress, trying to keep the routine the same. So let's get into what we're doing to prepare our dogs, okay? I always say this. Obedience is not enough, and it's not the thing that you should be focusing on, okay? Key life skills are great. All dogs should know how to sit. They should know how to wait. So that's like my stay. I don't use stay. Look. So look at me. Touch, which is my version of come. A place cue, like mine is go lay down. I don't say place. My go lay down is, we're not doing anything. Nothing exciting is happening. Go relax and chill, like kind of like a relaxed protocol. but they don't have to like stay. They just need to go and like know that they're relaxing. A drop it cue, a leave it cue, all are great, but they're not as important as emotional regulation. Okay. That is like first and foremost. I always ask people, with their children, right? Like, again, JJ is 5 now, so he's going to be going to kindergarten next year. And it's like, we're always talking about behavior and how they're acting and girls versus boys and like how they're different, right? At this age. And I always equate it back to that. And I say, do you want the smartest kid in the room, the kid who can do anything, in terms of intelligence and smarts and book stuff. Okay. Or do you want the safest, most regulated, most relaxed, kind kid in the room? Okay. One that can handle stress, can handle change, can handle anger, can handle frustration and sadness in an appropriate way. Right. And that starts really, really young. We have to work with our kids on emotional regulation. And that's where that gentle parenting comes in, versus like very punitive, discipline type stuff, where we're actually helping them work through their emotions versus, bottling it down and, being super, super obedient. Because a lot of times we can get into that issue. I'm dealing with a client right now who, when their dog is experiencing anxiety and reactivity, like really intense reactivity, they were told from another trainer to have her go to her place and she has to stay there. So it's like, you're in a panic attack and the one you love the most is basically just yelling at you to calm down and to stay where you're at. And like, that's really hard to do when you're having a panic attack. So we don't want to fall back on obedience or think that obedience is the thing that we need to be doing constantly to get our dogs where we want them to go. If we have a emotionally regulated dog, impulse control, no separation anxiety, can recover, because we're not saying that our dogs can't have emotion. I just said this yesterday too. We're not saying that the things that you're scared of shouldn't be scary anymore. We're not asking them to lose all these negative emotions because they're normal, just like a kid. Anger, sadness, frustration, all normal, right? But can you manage it and can you recover quickly and go back to normal? Recovery is number one. If our dogs can't recover quickly and go back to baseline, we have an anxiety issue, right? So we want to look into that. The biggest thing I think that a lot of people, if you have a codependent dog or you have an anxious dog, this is not like the giant puppies or, the dogs who like to play. This is the dogs who are codependent on mom, have anxiety, noise sensitivity. These are the dogs that I think the biggest thing that needs to happen before baby comes is crate or confinement training. Okay. Even if your dog is older, it's not just like, oh, we're puppy training, we're using it for potty training, which I think is huge for a lot of dogs. But being able to be separated from mom, dad, whoever is like the main caregiver, whoever's home a lot, being able to go into a room, a crate, or somewhere else that they are confined alone, and not confinement in a bad way. They're not punished. They're not being exiled. This is solely so the dog can recoup and really replenish, and rest. Okay. Which a lot of dogs don't get when they are codependent on a parent. If they're not having alone time where they can, self-regulate, we are going to have issues down the road, especially when a baby comes. Okay. There are some times where as a new parent, you might just want some alone time with the baby or by yourself completely. Okay. If you don't know what touched out is as a mom, it is like when everybody needs you 24/7 to the point where you are basically saying like, I need everybody to just leave me be. I need a moment of silence where nobody is physically touching me or asking me for anything. Mine has got, even though I have 3 kids now, mine is getting significantly better. But I think when I had Joey, the second one, that's when like my touched out was like, everybody get away from me because I can't function right now. And it takes a while to kind of like get your bearings. So we want to make sure that our dogs can be confined in some way, right? Now, my dogs, Oakley and Tishy, had the worst separation anxiety ever that I've experienced as a trainer. Okay. And I truly believe the universe sent me them because they knew no other family was going to handle this and they would have got returned multiple times. So the universe brought them to me and we worked on it. They were both crated for a couple of months where we really, really worked on their separation anxiety, got them to the point where they were able to spend hours in there without anxiety, without frothing at the mouth or flipping out or trying to break out. which was great. And then we transitioned them to being in our bedroom together, alone. First it was Oakley by himself, and then we worked on Tissue when she got adopted after him. And we really worked through it with them. So now they can fully go into me and John's bedroom for up to 8 hours, no problem. And they know we're going to come back. There's no anxiety. They don't tear anything up. They're great in there. So I am able to, like, whether we have people, or maybe, we had a party for the boys, the 2 separate parties, lots of kids, lots of parents, just a lot going on. And sometimes the dogs tend to lay in the wrong spots in the kitchen where it's a traffic area. And, sometimes if I see them getting stressed, or the dogs or the kids are actually like too on top of the dogs, like they're too obsessed, especially Pudge because she's like small and cute, I will give them breaks in the room to just kind of chill out for half an hour, and then they can come and rejoin the party. The fact that I'm able to put them in our bedroom at a drop of the hat, there's no routine with that, it can just happen at any time, and they don't panic, is such a relief for everybody. Okay. Because sometimes the dogs may be looking to me for that break, even though they don't know how to say it. Or they don't know really, sometimes they don't know to just go in the room and I'll shut the door. So sometimes I have to lead them in there, and that's okay. So if you are a mom who has a dog who's kind of like up their butt, it's your shadow. This is something that you're going to want to work on. All right. Confinement training is huge. If you cannot close the door to go to the bathroom because your dog needs to be with you, that is something to consider here and say, okay, this should be where my priority is, when before I'm having a baby. Okay. That's big. I have a bunch of mom clients who come to me after the fact, after baby's born, and we're working on a bunch of things. And I always say, can your dog go somewhere in the house without you for a period of time? And usually the answer is no. And they actually kind of like scoff and laugh at me like, yeah, okay. Like that like a pipe dream. Okay. So we want to look into that. We want to work on that. The second thing is reactivity training. If your dog is reactive to people, to dogs, to noises, to sounds, to anything, really, it's something that we're going to want to tackle before baby comes. Inside, outside, one of the biggest things that new parents will struggle with is having guests over, okay? Guests coming into the home and their dog is not happy. They're, protective of the baby, or protective of mom, or protective of themselves, don't like when people are trying to reach for them. Just another person who isn't in the nuclear family that is coming inside and into their space agitates them. Even if they're not being aggressive, they just seem really agitated, can't settle, can't recover. We're going to want to work on that reactivity training. If you are a mom who plans on taking their baby for walks. It's getting nice, right? It's May right now as this recording is happening. It's getting nicer. We're getting into the summer months. If you are about to have your baby in the next couple of months, you're going to want to walk outside and enjoy the sunshine and get baby in the sun and enjoy that. Enjoy the nice weather. Go for walks. And if you have dreams of bringing your dog along, sorry, hold on. Oakley is having a problem. You all right there, buddy? If you are dreaming of taking your baby for walks in the stroller and you can't fathom doing that right now because you know that your dog is going to be losing it, this is something you're going to want to tackle. Okay. Reactivity training. It's one of my other specialties, is getting our dogs to like the things that they are currently triggered by. You're going to want to praise and treat and get excited. I'm going to do a whole other, episode on reactivity in general for all of you, and really dig deep with what it's going to look like for a dog who either has a pregnant mom or is reactive in general on walks with the stroller. That we're going to dive deep into that. So that's going to be an upcoming episode. So look for that. You want to really work on this because you don't want your dreams crushed because you didn't work on something prior to baby. Something that seems very daunting, but actually is so simple with my type of training. So keep a lookout for that episode. Then the other thing is anxiety impulse control. If your dog, I just did this training yesterday, this poor dog, we were talking about the dog's anxiety level. I said, give me, what is she like when it's just you and dad and her? And mom kind of laughed and she was like, she's, on that totem pole from like 0 to 100 or 0 to 10. She's like 8 to 10, even when everything is fine. So her cortisol levels are super, super high, even on a good day. And she's like, we really do want to have kids soon. And this is concerning for me because she's like, I love her so much. I do not want to give her up at all because they adopted her after another family gave her up because she air snapped at a kid because they jumped on her. She's like, I want to fix that trauma. I want to help her work through this. I just have no idea what I'm doing. So we put her on a plan, to get her anxiety down before mom even conceives a baby. So mom feels really confident in that. She feels like this dog is ready to go and can do it, right? So we definitely want to see the cortisol levels drop and our serotonin kind of balance out so she can make proper decisions and say, oh, this is not really a big deal as I once thought. So anxiety and impulse control are going to be the other thing that we're working on. Impulse control is the ability to calm oneself down. Okay. Can she calm herself down on her own, really with like little to no help from mom or dad? Which a lot of dogs, this is more like overexcitement, overstimulation. When people come in, they may be people and dog friendly, but are they over the top? Right? If they're over the top, they're going to have a really hard time self-regulating and controlling themselves in a way that helps them communicate and make friends, right? So if you're having guests over to meet the baby, but your dog is going apeshit, and you're like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. It ruins the whole thing. Not only does it ruin those guests coming to meet the baby, but it also is like ruining your time with showing your baby off and getting these, people that you love to meet your baby, like this really exciting time. And now you're feeling some sort of way towards your dog because they can't keep it together. So impulse control and anxiety training is another big thing that we want to work on prior to baby coming so everybody can enjoy themselves and not feel stressed out, negative or positive. And that leads into the working on guests coming over is our fourth thing. How are our dogs with people coming over even before I'm having a baby? How are they acting? Are they barking at the person nonstop, depending on what they look like or how they're acting? We have some dogs who are reactive to all guests. Then we have dogs who are reactive to a particular looking type of guest. Maybe it's just a man or it's someone who wears sunglasses or hoods up or, dark features, things like that. Or are they overexcited? And they tend to be the dog that you're like, don't look at them, don't touch them. They're too overexcited. So like, don't baby talk them. Or, what do they need? What kind of dog are they when people come over? Are they bouncing off the walls? Or are they like, don't freaking touch me? We want to look into that and figure out how we're going to get them to calm down when these people come over to meet baby. And what does this look like? This is like my number one tip for parents when they're struggling with dogs and meeting guests when baby's here is we divide and conquer. So there's one parent. Now, depending on how postpartum you are, okay, some people don't want guests for like month, 2 month, 3 months, which at that point you are, mostly healed from birth. You shouldn't be in like physical pain as much as you were right after birth, depending on what kind of, you had a C-section or natural birth, had stitches, what have you. But if you are having guests over like pretty much immediately, then you're going to be in more pain. So like whoever, the mom that had the baby should be on the couch, really like resting with baby. Okay. Not really moving around. So maybe those guests come in, or if she's able to get up, she's the one answering the door, but then the other parent is in full control of the dog, whether the dog is on a leash, in a positive way, or that parent is like more like, the one that's kind of getting physically involved with the dog and meeting those guests. Now this can look like a bunch of different things, but we just want to divide and conquer. We want to have a rule, so to speak, of like, okay, you have the baby and the guests, I have the dog, or, I have the dog and the guests and you have the baby. And maybe there's other children in the mix, right? Who's in control of those children, right? So we want to just make sure that everyone has a job and we're aware of that job. So nobody's guessing and nobody's feeling like, oh my God, grab the dog. Like, and we're stressed out. So the more of a plan that we have, the better it is for everybody involved. And there's less tension. When we have a plan, there's less tension. So dividing and conquering and making sure that one person is in control of the dog and they're not worried about being the hostess with the mostest. Because that's a big thing too, is like, I want to be a good host. I want to make everybody feel super comfortable when they come in. One person should be doing that. The other person is in control of the dog and the other kids maybe. So make sure that you come up with that plan before guests come over. The other thing is you want to have your enrichment ready. Okay. When people are coming over, whether your dog has anxiety in a negative way or anxiety and impulse control issues in a positive way where they're overexcited, you want to have frozen enrichment that your dog is going to be really interested in. That when we look at it, this person's coming through the door and you shove that bone or that popsicle in their mouth that they're like, oh, this may be more exciting than that guest, or it evens out. So they'll have the bone, the popsicle stuck in their mouth as they're greeting the person. Thus, because they have that thing in their mouth and they have that oral thing going on, that oral fixation happening, they're able to stay a lot calmer. My parents' dog Gatsby, I talk about him quite a bit. The biggest thing that we did with him, he's big. He's 100 pounds. He's an American black lab. So it's not the short, stubby labs that are the English ones. Gatsby is like Great Dane type body, like really long legs, nice thin waist, big chest, and big. He's a big boy. We call him like Clifford because he's just so big. And when he jumps, he gets height, and he's not leaving the ground. He's old. He's not leaving the ground. If he just lifts his paws up, he is your height. He is big. So when we were dealing with this, when he was excited for people to come over, but he was just too much. And my parents were really bad at training. They were not good at working with him. They weren't good at staying consistent because they did not divide and conquer. They would both get upset with him. They would both try to be the hostess with the mostest, and no one was focusing on him or filling his cup. So I literally told him, I said, listen, you guys can't be trusted with training, so I need you to do the easiest thing possible. All you have to do is have some sort of high value enrichment for Gatsby and hand it off the second these people come in. Can you do that? And they're like, yeah, that sounds pretty easy. They did that every single time. Sometimes I would have to remind them, and that's okay. Hand it off immediately. Gatsby would keep it in his mouth because he's highly food motivated. He would hold it and greet people four paws on the floor, happy still, right? Still a little bit like strong leaning. So you got to make sure if it's an older person, they weren't going to fall over, but not jumping. All paws on the floor. He wasn't like really like pushing into people like he used to. And he would, once everybody came up the stairs, went into the kitchen, he would like lay down on his bed, eat his enrichment. And then when he was done, he would join the party. And he'd be so much calmer. And that's when everybody would give him his pets and his really beef him up. And he would love that. And he wouldn't be jumping because he got his yayas out. So that is a really good tip for anybody who struggles with guests coming over, is to really use that enrichment to your advantage. It's so simple. All you have to do is make sure it's prepped. That's it. Just make sure it's frozen. And if your dog doesn't like anything frozen, like have like something else that's high value that is going to be difficult for them to get through, and hand that off right as these people are coming through the door. Or if they're more skittish, that person, that guest can hand it off to your dog if they're willing to actually like come to the person and be at the door. The other thing is working on any weird quirks that might become a problem once baby comes. So socially, physically, mentally, if your dog is struggling with a chemical imbalance, is super anxious, like the client I was working with yesterday, she's from 8 to 10 on the scale on a consistent basis. She has a chemical imbalance. Okay. Dogs should not be in fight or flight always. They should not be waiting for the other shoe to drop. So she is on medication. It's not working. So we need to try a different SSRI. So that was just a conversation that we were having yesterday, and also going on a high quality CBD that's going to work for her. Medication can be extremely beneficial for dogs who are struggling mentally and just cannot regulate their emotions, because I can't ask this dog to act like a regulated dog when she has chemical imbalance. We can't ask. That's like asking somebody with mental illness to no longer have mental illness and act completely normal. It's just not fair. So we can't put those expectations on a dog who has chemical imbalance, like from birth, from trauma, from both, from learned experience, from like something super traumatic. Now, I think that something that exacerbated the dog that I'm talking about, her issues, is that her dad went away for almost a year in the Army, and she was adopted. So she has abandonment issues, that other family that left her. Then she gets adopted by this lovely couple. And then after a year and a half of having the best life with them, dad is away for 11 months. And it's just mom home by herself, who's probably experiencing a lot of stress being alone, being a woman on her own in a house with just a dog. Some stress comes with that, some sadness. So that is trauma on this dog, even though it wasn't like this big abusive event. So trauma can be in a lot of different ways for dogs. So, mental quirks, right? Physical quirks. This could be allergies. This could be an injury. This could be like the weirdest things, like impacted anal glands, like a fractured tooth. We want to make sure that our dogs are, if they're acting weird, we want to get to the bottom of it. So look into the physical stuff, anything like that, grooming, all that good stuff that, we really want to take care of. This other dog as well. I mean, I'm using her as an example because she pretty much had everything in the book that could exacerbate her reactivity and her stress. She also is suffering from 2 partially torn ACLs. And if there are random days that she's limping and won't put pressure on it, I was telling Mom, that could totally, exacerbate her reactivity because she doesn't feel like she's able to protect herself because she's physically depleted. She's not at a place where she's like ready to go if she needed to get away. So that could be like, everybody get away from me because I'm, secretly I'm not physically okay. And then socially, right? If they're quirky, they have weird behaviors. Lots of clients with like the weirdest things. Don't go downstairs. I have this one dog that I'm working with who they just got a new deck put in and he will not go down the new outside stairs. He has to go through the house and through the porch, through the other way. And the stairs lead like maybe 20 feet away from the new ones. And he'll go down those other ones, even though they look exactly the same. So we're working on quirky behaviors for them because she is, looking to have a baby soon. And she's like, I cannot be dealing with this weird stuff, these weird quirks while I'm like freshly postpartum. And I want to make sure that these things are under control prior. Because they will turn from like cute quirks to, once you have a baby, like the most annoying thing in the world because your bandwidth is so short and you're sleep deprived and there's just not enough hours in the day. So these little things that were once cute and adorable will no longer seem that way. And it's not the dog's fault because they didn't ask for this, right? So we want to just take care of these things that we may eventually think are not so cute anymore. So that is, one of those things that we want to work on. Takeaway, okay? Start early, start small, consistent. Okay. It pays off so much. I always tell people, if you take all of your energy, like you think you have all these months, right? There's going to be things that take precedent and that's okay. But if you do this now and you put all your energy into it for like a month, you could see such a huge change. And then if you try to trickle it in over the next 9 months while you're pregnant, and you're like, oh, it's not really working. It's like when you're really trying to lose weight. Like you could make some small changes and yes, will they work over time, but you may get discouraged in between because you don't feel like you're seeing a difference. But if you go hard, you going to the gym every day and you're eating healthy every day, you're gonna see a difference, right? And you're gonna be, your cup is gonna get filled by seeing differences quickly versus like small little things over time. So the best thing is to just, you do start small, but we don't want to just like, lack of a better phrase, half-ass it. Really put your heart and soul into it and you will see such a big payoff with your dogs and how happy they are and how happy you will be in turn because your dog is happy. There's nothing better than bringing a baby home to a regulated, happy dog that is just so elated to see this baby. So those are the things you want to work on before baby comes. Throw the obedience out the window because really at the end of the day, I could care less if a dog knows any cues. A lot of people think when they find out I'm a trainer, they want their dog to walk perfectly and sit when they tell them to sit immediately. I do not care about any of that. I want to see if your dog is self-regulated. I want to see if they can recover, if they have impulse control, if they can be left by themselves, if they are friendly. And not like over the top, like love me, insecure. Can they calmly greet somebody and be okay when the pets stop or the attention stops? Can they feel safe in normal situations when someone's dropping off a package or, someone rings the doorbell? Do they go into survival mode or are they like, okay, we're safe. Mom and dad have me. We're all good. Right. So we want to look at these things before baby comes. Throw the obedience out the window and work on the more emotional regulation type stuff. Okay. It was great chatting with you all today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any more specific questions, you can hit me up on Instagram at Jamie the Dog Trainer. I love hearing from you all and I love hearing how much this podcast has changed your dog already. And if you've had kids already and it's, implementing these things has been life-changing, I'm so happy. Thank you for always reaching out to me and letting me know. That's where you can find me, Instagram at Jamie the Dog Trainer, Jamie spelled Jaime. You can also find me at jamiecaponetta.com. And thank you so much. Everybody have a great day.